and welcome to Emma's ESL English. This week, or rather Tuesday and Wednesday this week, we're going to look at a couple of bits of time grammar. Today we're looking at during and for. I'm going to keep these grammar ones as short as I can, but remember you can always drop me an email or over on the blog, you can always put a comment in the bottom if you have a question about something. That is totally okay to do. So if you listen to this and it's confused the life out of you, then you can always go over to the blog and ask more questions, or you can email me your questions and we'll just do another podcast on this. There is a difference between using during and for. During we use to say when something is going to happen, and for we're using to say for how long it's gonna last. But to be honest, when you're reading it, that's not so obvious always. It's a little tricky to get your head around. What I'm going to do is give you some examples, and then we'll look at those in a bit more detail so you can see this working. Just one note, we can use in instead of during. Not always, but most of the time. But we can't use for instead of during. Grammatically, you can't just change during and put a for in there. It doesn't work because they're doing two different things. So for example, we can say, we will eat a lot during the Christmas holiday. And we can say, we will eat a lot in the Christmas holiday. Those are both exactly the same thing. But if we want to use for, we might have to change it. The Christmas holiday lasts for 2 weeks. We eat a lot during the Christmas holidays. It's telling us when. Christmas holiday is the thing that's happening. We're eating a lot. And the Christmas holiday lasts for 2 weeks. That's how long it lasts. Okay, right. Brilliant. Woohoo. Okay, I've said okay about 600 million times by this point. Y'all don't know how many okays I edit out of these podcasts. And so's. Okay, so it's ridiculous. Anyway, she always falls asleep during movies. This is a really common one if we're talking about moms especially. They do tend to fall asleep during movies. That's because they're really super duper tired and they've got lots of things to do. So what we're meaning at this point, she always falls asleep during movies. Within the time the movie is playing, she falls asleep, like every time. Alternatively, she fell asleep for the whole movie. Okay, this one is a little weird. In fact, normally we wouldn't say she fell asleep for the movie. Okay, so we wouldn't do this without the whole. She fell asleep for the movie, although literally it's saying exactly the same thing. In fact, we don't like to say it. We would prefer to say she fell asleep during the movie. That's a more comfortable phrase. However, if there is a situation where we want to emphasize the fact that it was the entire movie, she literally slept for the entire movie, then we might use this sentence and we'll add a whole in there so that everybody understands that this wasn't just 10 minutes of snoozing. She fell asleep for the whole movie. Okay, so we're using it for emphasis, and that's why we might choose it. I've had no energy during the last few weeks. This is confusing. We can say I've had no energy during the last few weeks, but it works better with for. It works better for us. It's more comfortable for us to say I've had no energy for the last few weeks because it's got our time phrase of how long. We can use during because we mean during that time period we've had no energy. But we're just more comfortable using for because it's literally got a time phrase in there, the last few weeks. If we wanted to say a particular period of time, then we might be more likely to use during. So I had no energy during my holidays. See, it's not quite a time phrase. It's a period in time, my holiday. We've had no electricity for 2 hours. Got a time period, 2 hours, and we know how long it lasted. But let's say the electricity kept going on and off and on and off all day long. Then we could say the electricity kept going off all day. In this case, we're using kept to say it happened more than once, and going as a continuous tense to say it's happening again and again and again. But we can't say the same thing with during. We can say the electricity kept going off during the day. So there's a couple of things that I think are different between these three phrases. In this one, during the day, we're not as angry as the first two. We're just stating a fact, right? So we've had no electricity for 2 hours, or the electricity kept going off all day. Both of them were emphasizing the time and we're kind of annoyed about it. But the last one, the electricity kept going off during the day, is just kind of a statement. It's just telling people what happened. Also, we know it happened more than once during the day, but it doesn't seem as bad because we haven't emphasized all day. So in the second one, it's like maybe it went off a couple of times, or maybe it went off 3 times, but like one was in the morning, one was at lunchtime, one was at dinner time. Whereas the electricity kept going off all day suggests that it was going on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off all day long. So actually what we're talking about with these kind of phrases is the nuance. That's the tricky part, the nuance of the phrase. So although we can say for sure that we use during when something happens and for how long it lasts, we also need to look at what are we trying to say so that we know which is the right thing to use. Tomorrow we'll be looking at by and until. If there's anything else, any other sort of time words like this that confuse you, or you get mixed up about what you should use where, then let me know and I can do a whole episode on it. Any questions that you might have, you can email them to me at emmaseslenglish@gmail.com. And remember, you can always head over to the website at emmaseslenglish.com. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.